Hey guys, so I just finished my first week of my new job. And I say week because it was only 3 days that I worked, but that is the time when the doctor's there. So if you guys don't know, I just recently started a new part-time job. I had not worked since October of 2024 due to being in the hospital after having multiple seizures that left me paralyzed on my right side. And I have since been able to rehabilitate myself through outpatient and inpatient rehabilitation. Um, and obviously, I'm not paralyzed on the right side anymore. I am doing much, much better. And I still do outpatient physical therapy and occupational therapy. But I'm super happy to say that I was able to, like I said, finally get back to work. As I am filming this, it is the middle of May 2025. So from October of 2024 to the middle of May 2025, I was not working because I couldn't. I had to focus on my health and well being. And obviously, that is the most important because it is. Um, so, I wanted to tell you guys that I had a wonderful time starting my new job. It is very overwhelming because there is a lot of information to take in, but I feel like I'm going to love it there. I started working as an ophthalmic technician slash assistant. I'm not certified. The company that I work for is going to pay for my training to become certified and all of that stuff, but they are educating me on the job, so that is kind of cool. Um, I think that any kind of opportunity for education, and I've said this over and over again on my channel, any opportunity that you have to pursue higher education or certifications, things like that, all of that is worth it. Any opportunity that you get, you should grab onto and hold on to it. Um, like I've said so many times on my channel in the past. So they are paying for me to become certified. They are educating me. There is a lot of information that goes into this job. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of moving parts, and um, I'm just looking forward to all of the things that I still have to learn, obviously. Like I said, I've only been there for 3 days. Everybody in the office is super nice and helpful, and they are so willing to train and to give me all of their knowledge and share information with me. Um, so, kind of the way it works and why it's only part time is because there's only like the doctors rotate. So every week there's a different doctor, and some weeks there's no doctor. So, like this week, there was a doctor who specializes in like children and muscle disorders and things like that of the eye. And so he was only here for 3 days this week. And next week, there's nobody in the office, no provider. So I don't go back to work again until like the last week of May. So all next week, I'm off, which is okay because thankfully my fiance makes enough money and has a good enough job where I don't have to worry about like not being financially okay being off for a whole week. But um when I go back to work, I will have 4 days that week instead of three and some extra hours. So that will be good. I'm just looking forward to learning everything that I can about this position and about this field. I have looked into like getting some books online. I don't know if my job will provide books and things like that to study from and to learn information from, but I have looked into a few different types of books online that were recommended in a Facebook group that I joined for people who work in ophthalmology. Um, because there is a huge difference between optometry and ophthalmology, because ophthalmology deals with kind of the medical aspect of the eye, and optometry is more like glasses prescriptions and regular eye exams, in case you didn't know that. I do plan to make a video kind of getting more in depth about the differences between an optometric assistant or an optometry assistant or technician and an ophthalmology assistant or technician. So if you guys are interested in that, definitely stay tuned and I will post that video on my channel. Um, I do plan to make some content kind of letting you guys follow along on my progression. So basically, what I got to do for the last 3 days, today's my first day off this week. Um, but what I got to do for the last 3 days was the patient check in process. I basically just shadowed this week. I'm not going to lie, except for yesterday, I got to input some patient information into the computer. Um, I'm still very, very new and fresh to all of this. As I just said, like this was my first 3 days on the job. So I didn't expect to be doing a whole bunch of things. Um, but I'm just super excited. So I got to follow along through the patient like intake and check-in process. I got to go through like the process of walking patients out to the front so that they can get their next appointment scheduled, which how can you go wrong with that? Um, I got to follow along with some testing and different things like that, which was really interesting to see how these machines work. I can't wait to learn more about the testing process because I was super interested in that, which is good because there's somebody who is potentially leaving because she's moving or wants to move. And so if she leaves, I would be more than happy to take over her kind of role because she does a lot of the testing. And that part is super interesting to me. I think honestly, that is one of the most interesting aspects that I've learned so far, other than like how the check-in process is. But I'm just super excited about all of it. And like I said, everybody in the office is super nice. It's a super flexible and laid back office. And so kind of how it works is like once the providers are done, unless you have other things to take care of, you can go home. Like how the schedule is, it's like basically they have a time that you start work and then you're basically there until the end of clinic. Um, like my schedule was a little bit different this week because I had a specific end time, and like next week for 3 of the days, or not next week but when I return, um not next week but the week after, I have 3 days where I have a start time and an end time, and then the fourth day I go until the end of clinic. So that will be interesting to see. I'm super excited. The only thing that I feel like I'm going to have to get used to is like every provider needs something different. And it's kind of similar to being like a medical assistant in a lot of ways, but I just have to learn the providers and learn what exactly they want because they each want something different, obviously, which is the same with any doctor or PA or NP. Working as a medical assistant, they all want something different as well. So they all have kind of different ways that they approach things. And so I just have to kind of learn the providers, if that makes sense. But I'm super excited to have started a job in general, but also this job because I feel like it works perfectly with where I'm at right now, um, with my health and everything. And like I said, maybe in the future, I don't think I said this in this video, but maybe in the future I will get a full-time job. But this particular office that I work in doesn't really have full-time positions, just because, like I said, the providers, there's like a week every month where the provider is not in the office or there's not a provider in the office. So unless that changes, there's not really a full-time position. Um, the only people that have like a full-time position, there's like the site lead as well as a receptionist who's there full-time, but there's not really full-time people other than them. So anyways, I just thought that I would give you that kind of little update. I'm super excited. Hopefully you guys are excited to follow along with me on this journey. Because yeah, I always like getting education and sharing it with you guys. And if you have any questions about what my job entails and things like that, I would love to share with you guys. And like I said, I'm still learning, but I can share with you the information as I go through it. And yeah, I will talk to you guys in my next video.